Hey everybody, Derek here to bring you another video for The Walking Dead countdown to the Season 6 premiere. God only knows when that date will be. We haven't really gotten a date yet, but we are anxiously waiting for the return. And today what I wanted to do was do a video that was basically related to something from the season finale. A couple of videos that I want to do regarding the season finale and the future of the show. And the question that I have is, will Gabriel die in Season 6? There were a lot of things that seemed to indicate that some things could happen with his character, and I wanted to delve into that and give my thoughts on that. Now, if you are a fan of the comics, or if you're not, I will be making some comic book references which may be used in the Season 6 storyline in the TV show. So if you are not a fan of the comics, or you don't want to know what's going on, or if you just don't want to be spoiled in any way by any predictions, don't watch the video or else you may be spoiled. Okay, so as we know, based on the Season 5 finale, Gabriel seemed to have a little bit of a death wish, it seemed. He was very upset by a lot of things that had happened. We know that his character had locked out the people that went to his church, didn't let them in when the zombie apocalypse first happened, and as a result, they got eaten or killed in some way. And we also know that that's something that's been bothering him, which seemed to make its point very clear by the season finale. And he, went outside the walls, and he, saw a walker and tried to get it to eat him, it seemed, and the walker was on a rope, so it couldn't reach him, so Gabriel killed it, and then he killed a person who had been very badly bitten by the walker, put him, out of misery. Then he came back to the safe zone at Alexandria and didn't shut the gate. And part of me thinks that that may have been related to him, perhaps saying, you know what, this is a perfect way for me to die. Let the walkers, come in and, invade this place and, eat me and everybody else. Because maybe he was thinking that that way it would end all of the other bad things that were going on, just in general. Maybe he thinks that, ending this community would mean the end of any bad thing or any violence going on in the Walking Dead world. So I think that might have been a motive there. And another thing that, you saw was that when he was with Sasha, he was kind of egging her on, to shoot him. And of course she didn't. But that, I think, was definitely going through Gabriel's mind when he was talking to her. Now, we all know that at this point, Gabriel's not really our favorite character. Obviously he's been a little bit ungrateful towards Rick's group, in regards to everything that they've seemed to have done for him. I mean, on the way to Alexandria, I don't think that Gabriel was helping out to kill walkers and things like that. I think he was just, tagging along. And, he gets to the safe zone, and instead of, being very grateful, he turns around and seems to, tell Deanna that Rick's group is dangerous and that they should be killed because of it, or, at least banished, from the community because they're not good enough for being there. So obviously Gabriel's not really a favorite right now, and, that could either change or that could be the beginning of his demise. Because we noticed that, Maggie seemed to be comforting Gabriel a little bit there near the end. Now, how much is that going to help him? We don't know. Because obviously we know that Maggie overheard Gabriel telling Deanna about, how Rick's group was. So, will Maggie confront him about this or not? We don't know. And I might do a video on that later on, but right now I just want to focus on Gabriel. There are a couple of things that make me consider that he may live or he may die. And I'll tell you his story from the comics. In the comics, Gabriel is still alive. He is still a part of the series, but he's not necessarily the most involved character. When we get to the next volume, which is No Way Out, when the walkers invade the Alexandria community, Gabriel does let people into his place when the walker attack is happening, saving them, and then he's later seen killing walkers. Eugene basically tells him that he needs to help out and kill some walkers, and he does. He does go and help kill the walkers. But pretty much after that, he really doesn't have as much of a role in the comics. He's just there every now and then to, like, do a church service for people that have died, things like that. So he's not necessarily the most, out there character. And I feel like for the TV show, that's really not going to cut it. Especially when you bring in an actor like Seth Gilliam. I just don't think that you can make Gabriel fade into the background and make that be acceptable. I would much rather you either use the character to a fair potential, just like you kind of did in season 5, or I think that you should kill him off, because there's no sense in, leaving a character in the background, and not have them involved. And I think that at this point, Gabriel either needs to become someone different, or he will probably get killed off, because I just can't see a situation where that changes. Now, we've kind of seen that there may be a couple of changes that Gabriel is going through. I mean, the fact that he did kill a walker may seem to indicate that he is willing to, help people out. And the fact that he put that guy out of his misery, I think that that was him taking a step and perhaps changing the way that he feels about the ethics of, the Walking Dead world versus, what his beliefs are. I mean, thou shalt not kill definitely takes a very different approach in many different ways. You ask 100 people and they have different ideas of what thou shalt not kill means. And I'm sure that Gabriel has his own belief in that, which is why he's never killed walkers. But I think that that's starting to change, because I think that part of him realizes that in the past he could have helped people, but he failed to do so. So perhaps he may be changing for the better and may become a character that is more willing to help people, that may go out on runs, that may be more involved with that, maybe, or he's not, or that he will overcome that temporarily before dying. Because there were a couple things that I was thinking about overall in the story. The fact that in the comics the Alexandria safe zone does get overrun with walkers in the next volume, I think that will happen in the TV show. I think that's a story that needs to be told. Part of it's because I don't know how else you can keep it interesting. The fact that they're behind walls is definitely going to, present a few problems with potentially keeping the story interesting all the time. But if you have the walkers invade the safe zone and for a couple of episodes they're fighting them off and getting them out of there, I think that that is a story that will make things interesting. I think it needs to happen. I could see a situation where the wolves, use the walkers to invade the Alexandria safe zone. And I think that it may or will happen. Now, with Gabriel, I could see a situation where Gabriel overcomes his past sins or fears, by locking everybody out, that he overcomes that and potentially, lets people in or helps people, or he might sacrifice himself to save someone else, because that would be a kind of way of, going full circle, where before you were a coward, I put in quotations, who, didn't help people, to being somebody that sacrifices their life to save someone. I think that would come full circle for him. I could definitely see them going that route. However, there's another option, and this is something that's very interesting for comic book readers. A potential twist on the way that things happen, and this is major spoiler territory. I also could see a situation where Gabriel still wants to die. That feeling does not change. And one thing I was thinking about was that maybe instead of, the group killing Gabriel, because I don't think that would be proper, just because Gabriel went and told Deanna and them that, he thought they were bad people doesn't necessarily give them the right to kill him. And not only that, it wouldn't go over very well, but I could see a situation where they ignore him, or they basically shun him from their inner workings and basically state like, hey, we don't want anything to do with you, okay? Okay, you can live here and do whatever you want, but I'm going to tell you something. If you're in trouble, we're not going to help you. I could see them doing that. which could potentially make him feel just as alone. And, he may try to communicate with some other people in Alexandria and may find that, he's not very well liked, or that they don't see him as much of a use for the community anyways, and that he still wants to die. I think that might happen. And in the comics, that his actions kind of remind me of a character. And that character is Douglas, which is Deanna's comic book counterpart, who was the leader of the Alexandria Safe Zone. Now, in the comics, he only has one son, which is Spencer, but he loses his wife, Regina, as a result of Pete. That whole scene that played out in the TV show was almost like what happened in the comics, where Pete basically attacks everybody, and he ends up killing Regina in the comics, which was Douglas's wife, and in the TV show, of course, it was Deanna's husband, Reg. Now, will Deanna, become Douglas in the comics and follow that storyline? Maybe. But something that I was thinking about was that maybe it's Gabriel who might take on that story/death that happens in the comics. Because here's what happens. When the walkers invade the Alexandria Safe Zone, Douglas wants to die. After losing Regina and after pretty much losing the leadership to Rick, because he kind of tells Rick, hey, you can take over, it's fine. Douglas doesn't really see much of a purpose anymore, and he actually tries to kill himself. When the walkers invade, like, he has a gun to his head, and he just can't make himself pull the trigger. So what does he do? He kind of, gives it so that he doesn't have an option to back out, and he goes out into the crowd of walkers and starts shooting several of them, and waits, and then, of course, he gets devoured by the walkers and gets bitten several times and pretty much eaten. And while he's getting eaten, he's firing off rounds randomly, and one of them hits Carl in the eye, which causes Carl to lose his eye in the comics. Whether Carl will lose his eye or not in the TV show, we don't know. I could see them going that route, but I could also see them not going that route, because it would kind of be annoying for Chandler Riggs to have to wear the eye patch. It might. I'm not going to say that it's perfect, and he might be open to that, or he might not. But that's part of the reason why they didn't have Rick lose his hand like he does in the comics, because if that was the case, then Andrew Lincoln would have to walk around with a glove all day, and he'd be pretty sick of it. At least the governor, I think, like with David Morrissey, I think part of him knew that his character was not a, several year character, so I don't think it mattered as much. But it could matter in this respect here. But something that I was thinking about was, well, what if Gabriel takes on Douglas's death in the comics? And what happens is he still wants to die, and if the walkers invade the community and he's there, then what if he does want to die? He doesn't believe in, shooting himself, or he can't do things like that. So instead, he takes the cowardly way out and goes out there and basically gets devoured by the walkers. And what if he does, potentially shoot out Carl's eye? Or potentially shoot and hurt somebody at the same time? I mean, they could go that route instead, where instead of it being, Carl getting his eye shot out, it could be Carl getting shot in the chest or the arm again, or it could be Rick getting shot. It could be somebody else. So what if they follow that story? I think that could happen. I could see a situation based on the way that they were treating his character near the end of that episode, where he still does have a death wish, and that's how he goes out. I could see them doing that. Will they? We'll have to wait and see. But there is also a chance that he may still live and they may find a purpose, as I said. But I think that more and more is indicating that they probably will kill the character off, because with the stuff that's coming up in the story, especially if you're a comic book fan, the Savior storyline, I don't see a place for Gabriel. I don't see him becoming somebody that's like a warrior who could fight off people. I just don't see that out of him. But you know something? I didn't think that Carol could ever become the character that she has, and look what happened. So Walking Dead has done some very interesting things with characters on the show, and I think they could do it again. Will they? We're gonna have to wait and see. But I'm excited. I think they got a lot of good stories. So I'm gonna bring this video to a close. Don't be afraid to leave your comments and let me know what you think. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming, and if you guys have any suggestions that you would like to make for the near future, just let me know. You know, we got a while till Walking Dead comes back, and I do want to keep us preoccupied while we wait, because it is going to be a tough wait. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.